All right, hey team. It is it's what is this? It's Wednesday afternoon. We're gonna take a lunch break and work on some game development for the Martial Power System for Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition 2025. So give me a second here to check on my signal, see if we're coming through. Yeah, it sounds like our signal is going to be okay. I'm going to drop that microphone down there. Here, grab this, drop there. I'm going to do some quick social media postings. And if you're already familiar with the channel, you can skip ahead a minute and we'll get into the thick of things. But until we get there, I'm just doing some quick posts here. And then, so let me go through just a quick intro for you guys. My name is Phil Kearney. Hey. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online, and I am focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition right now. I create content on the DMsGuild. There's a slew of books in the description down below. You can take a look at my stuff. It's all free preview. I'd like you to just be able to see the stuff, and then after the fact, if you think it's cool, consider making some purchases if you want to, encourage similar behavior in the future. But I've been a DM since 1987. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. I've been a Magic the Gathering enthusiast since I think around 1995. And it was the DMsGuild in 2018 when Wizards of the Coast published the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. It was the first foray that Wizards was really taking into the MTG world. And from 3rd edition, we had seen that when they developed new campaign settings, that we would see all sorts of really cool mechanics that reflected the flavor of the worlds that they were trying to build. And I think a lot of us were excited to think that they were going to codify a color mana system to replace the Vancian magic in 8 schools. And when that didn't happen, that's what inspired me to get to work, because I realized then that they were never going to do it. So if they were going to do it, if we were going to have it, it was going to have to be up to somebody. And turns out that fate decided that someone was going to be me. So that's my intro. The Martial Power System that we're developing right now encourages that. Here on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. Here is the full playlists of us developing the Martial Power System that gives martial characters mana to utilize with. In 3rd edition, there was the Book of 9 Swords, which was like martial magic, right? It gave all the martial classes, or in 3rd edition gave 3 specific classes, Warlord, Cavalier, and Sword Sage, access to this magic system. So we're taking that idea, plus the ideas of magic from Incarnum, which was also a 3rd edition idea, which was infusing characters with magical auras that bonded to their body. So we're kind of taking the power of the Book of 9 Swords and the magic of Incarnum and spinning the flavor of martial powers from 4th edition and then brewing up 5th edition martial powers. So let's see, this button that I just clicked here, if you want to read along the entire playtest document that we're working on here live, it is free to read. It's read, don't touch right now. But like everything else that I make on the DMsGuild, like for instance, the color mana spell point variant rule system that I was just mentioning, that's right here. And if you click on that, there's a bunch of books that we've created already that utilize the color mana system to reimagine characters in Dungeons and Dragons instead of using Vancian magic and 8 schools of magic. Instead, it uses the 5 colors from Magic the Gathering and a mana system that reflects how Magic the Gathering utilizes it inside of the D&D IP. So the martial power is the next step so that all 13 character classes in the game utilize the same mana system so that you have the martial divide, which is like a debate point inside of D&D and has always been, is that martial characters are supposed to be steady damage dealers, and that's supposed to match the power that casters have, specifically full casters have, and the resources that they have of spell points or spell slots per day, and the huge list of spells that they can prepare from. Each spell is basically comparable to a scaling feat. And a 20th level wizard can have 25 of them prepared. And if you just add up all the levels of spells on the D&D list, they have 89 levels worth of spells that they can cast per day on basically on anything that they want down the line. The spell point system further melts that into, like, in the system that we use, a wizard would like have 80 points, and then they can refresh with a short rest, 1 per level up to 20th level. So essentially, a wizard has about 100 mana at 20th level per day, and a first level spell costs 1 mana, a 9th level spell costs 9 mana, and however much mana you spend, there you go. There's limits, kind of like with the wizard, with the warlock. You can cast 1 high levels or like high magic, or like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. That's a total of 30 mana that they can use per day, once per each total. And then there's the rest of the spell points that they spend from 1st to the 5th level. So it actually works really well, especially if you have a system for marshals to be able to match the damage that they can deal. You don't have to match the 9th level of power. You do need to be able to match and be able to, at a certain point, spam 5th level power, because where the high magic casters, full casters, ramp beyond 5th level power, they can only do that a limited number of times per day. But they can still kick out a bunch of 5th, 4th, 3rd, and then 1st and 2nd level spells. So if you have a martial character that's going to like the paladin and the rogue, for instance, they have half casting progression. So that gets you about where you need to be, because the half casters get 40, or with refresh mechanics, up to say 50 or 60 mana depending on how you play it, versus the full casters, which are around 80 to 100 mana depending on what class it is. So you have that half casting with half the level of magic. So if we're using a short rest man, and we're the paladins and the rangers, the way that they have up to 5th level spells, and they can only cast a couple of 5th level spells per day. But if we can create a magic system that allows us to be able to spam 4th and 5th level worth of power, we're never going to match just the sheer Nova strike power of full casters. But if we can create a system that allows us to be able to replicate those lower level spells more frequently than what the full casters have, then you're going to have a system that's going to scale. It looks fine at the top end, and when we play test it, 16th to 20th level felt really good. But now we have to scale it down so that it works from 1st to 16th level before we start really popping off on the crazy high level in-game stuff. So all the playtesting that we're doing on my Discord right now is to make sure that the power level is properly scaling from 1 to 20 for these martial characters, scaling magic from 1st to 5th spell level of power. So that's the process that we've been going through, and we've got like 100 episodes here on stream of us building, rebuilding, testing, analyzing the testing, and then refining the abilities and changing them, changing the mechanics around to be able to make these things work. And we just finished playtesting for 3rd level. We just gained 4th level. Previously, like I said, we had done playtesting from 16 to 20th, and recently we did playtesting in 5th and 6th level, and that's when 4th edition 2024 hit the shelves. So we had to step back and rebuild everything using the 2024 philosophies. And so we've rebuilt everything. We're still going through the process of rebuilding stuff, which is what we're doing today, revisiting the Rangers and the Monks, so the Rangers and Paladins. So we're going to drop down. Last episode, we were here last week. We had gotten through all but one of the Ranger subclasses that are in the new 2024 Player's Handbook. The one that we haven't touched yet is the Beastmaster. So we are going to today play with the Beastmaster. I'll say offhand, I don't want to rehash all the mechanics that go into the Ranger. Again, if you want to read about all this stuff, you can just peel open the Martial Powers playtest document here. See, this is the same document that I'm using literally right now, right here. So we'll drop down to the Ranger. We're going to skip Paladin and focus on the Ranger, because the Paladin is actually really simple. It's the Ranger that's going to be is going to need a little time to walk through. So all the characters. Hey, Steve. Did you like 4E? It didn't feel like D&D. I recognized the mechanical balance of what 4E was doing. It just didn't feel. It did after spending 25 years of basic 1st edition, 2nd edition, and 3rd edition. 4E was such a departure from the previous canon and just the way that they designed the game that it felt like a completely different game. It was really hard for me to get into the headspace of this is D&D. The 4E game engine was used in Gamma World as well. And I loved it in Gamma World because Gamma World is a very gonzo system, and it's the sci-fi after the bomb sort of like Fallout setting, as opposed to a fantasy setting. So like the gamification of how 4E is designed, it felt appropriate for what Gamma World was trying to be. So I liked the engine, I just didn't like the flavor. So I don't crap on 4E at all. And I think there's a lot of neat design principles that came out of it, like the way that you classify monsters, the way that they focused on like all stats mattered. Those are elements that we've brought into the mana system that we've developed. Like you need to have, like you can make a saving throw, like characters that maintain concentration on spells, we make it more fragile. That when you, not only can you lose concentration when you take damage, but you can also lose concentration when you fail saving throws. So all of your stats become important because spell points, you can do, like the big complaint with spell points is like they're so powerful. But if you're just doing damage, like flashbang damage effects, like firebolt, 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 it's not really that horrible because it's just dealing hit points of damage. What really gets disproportionate for the full casters compared to marshals is the concentration effects or the lack of concentration effects that can last all day. That's where the real power of spell points starts to peel away from the Fantasy and Magic system, because if you can spam out like 20 haste spells in a day, maybe that's going to be a little broken compared to other things. So the way that we combat that and resolved it was that we make every saving throw, if the roll that you get on your saving throw doesn't match or exceed your concentration your concentration check, you lose the spell and you dump the mana, so you have to cast it again. And a concentration check is anytime you roll a saving throw, unless it's damage is always half, is the DC equals half. Like if I deal 30 points of damage to you, then your DC is going to be 15. But the spell check DC is 10 plus the amount of mana or the levels of spells that you're maintaining. So if I have a 3rd level spell, DC is 13. If it's a 9th level spell, it's a DC 19. And so if you're a wizard with a dump stat dexterity of a 12 maybe, a +1 to your die roll, and you're not proficient with it, if you're holding an 8th level spell that you maintain concentration on and you just got dinged with, like, say, a Ray of Frost, that's going to slow you by 10 feet per round if you don't pass a dexterity saving throw. That dexterity saving throw, you might only have to roll a 13 to not get slowed down, but since you're maintaining concentration on that 8th level, those 8 mana, it doesn't even have to be an 8th level spell. It could be like a 3rd level spell and a 5th level spell, or a 3rd level spell, 3rd level spell, 2nd level spell, or 8 1st level spells. It's really liberal in that sense, but the DC is 18. So on that saving throw, if I can't hit an 18, my 15th level wizard maintaining that level spell, he just got dinged with a cantrip and he just lost his 8th level 8 mana and all the stuff that he had stacked up using it. I just finished earlier this year an Eberron campaign from level 1 to 20, and we had an Arcane Trickster, a Paladin, a Ranger, and a Druid. And the Druid was the full caster, and she played a Moon Druid. So that's great, but she was incredibly cautious about how much mana was she going to stack up and positioning, making sure that she wasn't going to be targeted by stuff. So tactics became incredibly important to the team. And they spent a lot of time, like once we started implementing martial powers, the Ranger and Paladin spent time making sure that they could keep threats away from their full caster. So like the actual fantasy of protect the caster is with all these mechanics that we're implementing, it actually gets realized very nicely because your casters are fragile, even if they're strong. The mana is fragile because the DM is encouraged when you're designing combat encounters to have saving throws. Well, preferably one physical stat and one mental stat, like Dex, Con, Strength, and Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma. Have things happening in the combat that's going to pop both of those, and then rotate between what they are. So like right now you're making saves versus Strength and Intelligence. Next boss fight, it might be Dexterity and Charisma. So you can't bulletproof yourself against specific tactics because the DM's encouraged to switch it up often, like when you throw in traps. diversify what type of traps that you're using. Like you can keep your traps like dexterity saving throws or constitution saving throws for the most part, which then frees you up during boss fight encounters to have strength saving throws. And then you can like lean into the intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throw stuff. But you have to have good stats in all of them or ways to prevent yourself from being targeted by them. Otherwise, you're just going to dump your stack. And now you're raw. It may have taken like 3 rounds for you to power up all the buffs that you want on your team, but now you're sporting like a DC 16, and my charisma is at a -1, and it's not one of my proficiencies. So I literally have a D20 -1, and I have to hit a DC 16 every time I make a saving throw. Good luck. So it really helps reconfigure the complexity and risk involved with battles. Full casters become glass cannons that can Nova punch shit really hard in the balls. But you want to have tanks around you that can help either shut down action economy from targeting you or being able to absorb the hits so that you don't have to worry about you're not taking any damage, you don't have to worry about any saving throw off of damage stuff. So if your team can tank for you or deflect attacks or put up protection or block attacks that are coming at you, you can allow that full caster to retain their glass cannon power. So the whole team, like the trope of like protect the druid or like protect the wizard, you can actually realize that in this game system. So that's long story short. Yeah, I like 4E if it's properly flavored. So that's a lot of random talk, huh? Ranger progression is a half casting progression. All the martial power characters, and again the full stack of all these guys. It's the barbarian, the fighter, the monk, the paladin, the ranger, and the rogue. They are all basically become like half casters in this system using short rest mana like the focus points from a monk. So at like say 3rd level, when you get your subclasses, you have 3 mana per short rest and per long rest. So you're probably going to expend like around 6, maybe 8 or 9 mana per day. Hey, what's up? It felt like DDM to me with the slash role playing. Yeah. So the mana system, short rest. There's also very important to point out here in the very beginning, just to keep everybody on pace. The mechanics for the powers is empowering actions where you can sacrifice action economy in combat. Because I talk about this a lot. In combat, there is you have more actions and like a rotation of turns and reactions. So you have reactions, which are their own thing, and then you have bonus actions. You have your standard action, which often breaks down into 2 or 3 attacks per round, and your bonus action. So you got movement actions, which are attacks, and then bonus action, and object interactions. So object interactions is a small like draw a weapon, stash a weapon, pull something out of your bag, open a door, small stuff like that. Movements, if you sacrifice your movement so you don't move this round, you can generate a free point of mana. So if you're using a sniper that doesn't want to move anyway, this is basically allowing you to generate free mana for you to be able to ramp up to hit, so you can play that sniper fantasy where you're using your steady aim by not moving. You can then focus into like a rogue gets. You can pick that up as a prepared power. So like you can have like an arcane archer, for instance, can pick up steady aim, and you don't move, so you sacrifice your mana to pay for it. So you get that steady aim every round for 1 shot, as long as you're staying still. Or you could instead say use that free point of mana that you're generating to ramp your damage. So we have the power die, and the power die acts as a superiority die / martial arts die / bardic inspiration die, where whenever you're using something that requires mana, it's usually going to say roll a power die or roll multiple power die. And like when it's damage, you add up all the dice to ramp your damage, like smite spells. Or like bardic inspiration, if you say spend 2 points of mana to ramp your saving throw so you don't fail your concentration check if you're, say, a wizard. Like an Eldritch Knight, for example, is a better example of this. If your Eldritch Knight is like, say, maintaining, what is it? Elemental spirits, I think, or the elemental. Fuck, I can't remember the name. The elemental spirits that swarm around you. It's a 4th level spell. 13th level, you get access to it. DC is 14. So while you have that, like while you're maintaining concentration on it, an Eldritch Knight, if they get hit by something, they have to make a Constitution saving throw to try to save it. They could like throw 2 points of mana at it, and then at 13th level, you'd be rolling a D8. So you'd roll 2 8-sided dice and add the best result to the result to the rest of your saving throw. So that could potentially save you. And some of these powers, like if you fail to save, you get the mana back. So you're rewarded for trying to spend your mana without actually necessarily spending your mana. And those are like exploits, where whenever you trigger something off of a die roll and you want to modify the result of the die roll, you can just spontaneously spend the mana to be able to ramp it. And most, like if it's damage, you always spend it. If it's trying to succeed a D20 test, a lot of these things allow you just to refund it if you screw it up. So it's a great way for you to juice your mana pool, to keep stuff going. Otherwise, like bonus actions, if you sacrifice your bonus action, you can also generate additional mana. So this is how you can ramp and sustain your character, these martial characters, to be able to crack off like these 3, 4, 5 mana effects over and over and over again, to be able to maintain the amount of impact they have in the game, where a full caster is going to like crack off 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th level spells and then spam out their 4th and 5th level spell slots. This is going to allow you, while they're doing that, you can just maintain tempo of 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 5th on once or even potentially twice a round if you're willing to burn off your own mana pool in the process. So it's high aggression, and we have like a list of 115 disciplines. Disciplines are like exploits and maneuvers, strikes, sustained powers, and reactions. There's a total of 115 of them. And then there's like another 63 of them that are like cantrip effects that you don't have to spend any mana on, but are like a reactions or otherwise modify like the damage that you do. Or one of the things that we give you are free, like you can, instead of preparing powers that burn mana when you use them, you could instead choose to prepare a ton of feats. And so there's a stack of 40 feats that you can choose from. So if you don't want to mess around with mana at all, you don't have to. You can just fill up, like here's the prepared powers that you get, a total of 23 by 20th level, and there's like 40 feats that you can choose from. So if you didn't want to mess around with mana at all using the system, you could stack up your entire character just on every feat that you would ever want, so that at 4th and 6th and 8th and 12th levels, when you're gaining actual feat, you could instead spend it on improving your ability scores so that your character maintains strong statistics. Just like your wizard or cleric's probably got like 1 or 2 feats that they want, and then they're just going to ramp their intelligence or their wisdom. You can do the same with your character without losing anything, because you're preparing those feats to juice your character. You don't gain stats when you prepare a feat that way, but there's also no prerequisites. Just as a final tangent here, Trent put out a video today about the Purple Dragon Knight UA, the playtesting for the Purple Dragon Knight. And he was talking about, love Trent Monk. What he was talking about specifically was how the Purple Dragon Knight allows you to lean into the idea of using a lance. But the lance is feat intensive. It requires PAM. Sentinel is useful to have with it. Heavy Weapon Master and Piercer. And then mounted combat. Those are like 5 feats that are really useful to pick up if you want to use a lance. Oh yeah, and you can use Duelist because it's technically a one-handed weapon when you're on a mount. So there's like 6 feats there that your character would love to have if you're playing a lance-wielding mounted soldier, or like a cavalier or a paladin sort of character. Well, you can get up to 6 feats at 3rd level. If you don't want to use any mana, you can stack up on all the feats that you would ever need. And then when you hit 4th level, you get your first stat gain. And then later on, as your mana starts to pile up, if you decide that you want to start dipping into mana stuff or maintain auras of concentrate, like sustained concentration, aura effects on yourself, you can do that too. But allowing you to prepare feats is a great way for you to get around the bottleneck of how shitty it is that you can only pick a couple feats. And when you compare that to, like, say, the power of tossing a fireball, being able to pick up Pam, Sentinel, and Heavy Weapon Master Fighter by 5th level, and still have the feat that you want, and still be able to pick up other weapon masteries and fighting styles on top of it. That actually starts to feel really good. And then you can start playing around with multi-classing, where it's like, yeah, I can put like 4 or 5 levels into fighter, like put 3 levels into fighter and still get my full 17 levels of wizard, and now I've got 3 levels of things. I can't get above first rank powers this way, so I can only spend 1 mana at a time, but your 17th level wizard is going to have a mana pool of like 70 mana on a long rest. So if you wanted to play like a Gish proper, the spellcasters don't improve your progression in martial powers at all, and martial powers don't improve your progress in spellcasting at all. The hybrids, the ranger, the paladin, those are the 2 exceptions. They actually advance both at the same time. Paladins and rangers progress on a 1-to-1 ratio for the martial casters, for the martial power wielders, the channelers, and they still have the divide your level by half for the full casters. So a 10th level paladin, it has 10 ranks of power and channeling, and is for a full caster considered basically a 5th level caster, which is how the system already works. So that ranger at 10th, or that paladin at 10th level, could dip into 3rd rank powers, but also has access to 3rd level spells. And that completely jives with how multi-classing works between those 2 gears of channeling versus casting. And they work. This has been working incredibly well. I'm actually really shocked and happy about how effective it is. So we get to play with things with that. And the ranger is the best at playing with this, because we're talking about generating mana, right? Well, you can only generate mana for powers. So if you have like a wizard, like if you have fighter 1, wizard 5, the wizard could give up its bonus action and movement, but it would only be able to use that mana to channel a martial power. It would still have to use its actual mana pool to cast any spells that it wants to cast. So you could make a Gishy sort of juice character where you have like reaction stuff, where you could afford to spend, because you get shitloads of mana as a full caster, but you get it all on a long rest. So that's how you can Nova and pop off huge numbers quickly, while the martial characters have to generate mana slowly round by round. Otherwise, they're going to burn through their mana pool very fast. So this mana generation only happens in combat, just like the Purple Knight can expend actions in combat to juice what their dragon is going to do to help them. So those ideas are already working in sync with each other. I love that. I will in time go over the new UA. I'm not putting I don't put a lot of credit into it, because it's, get the hell out of here. Whatever. I'm not putting a lot of credit in these right now because it is just UA content and it's going to get changed. But it thrilled me to see how much stuff in this UA is just literally different types of powers that we've already developed in the book. And once we actually see how these things are finalized, we'll go through a deep dive on that stuff. Probably when Skag 25 comes out, we'll dive into that. But I'm just looking at this stuff and I like it. I'm not going to invest time on it right now, but I like what I see over there. It really complements this sort of stuff that we've been doing. But one of the really cool, so we're talking about generating mana for channeling and having to use your mana pool for casting. But the cool thing about the Ranger is the Ranger doesn't follow that rule. The Ranger can generate mana by sacrificing action economy to cast Ranger spells specifically. If your Ranger class or subclass gives you access to a spell, and if it's concentration or an instantaneous spell, then you can generate mana to cast that spell during your turn. So like you could sacrifice your movement and your bonus action to use a magic action to cast a ranger spell, or if you're attacking somebody and most of the combat spells for the ranger are bonus actions that juice off of, like if I hit you, then I can use my bonus action to cast this spell. Well, I can still sacrifice my movement to be able to make that happen. So if I'm mounted, I could technically use my movement, because I'm not moving, my mount is. So a mounted character can automatically generate a point of mana for free. So you can crack off first level spells or be generating a point of mana to feed into whatever, like lightning arrow, for instance, is a 3rd level spell. If I'm on the back of a horse, I can generate a free point of mana for myself. So now I only have to spend 2 points out of my mana pool to be able to fire the lightning arrow, because the lightning arrow, it's a bow shot followed up with a bonus action to cast lightning arrow. And I sacrifice my movement. Now I only have to spend 2 points of mana out of my pool to be able to fire off that lightning arrow, which means I can fire off 50% more lightning arrows per short or long rest than the ranger normally would be able to. So there's fun little cheats in there. It only works with instant spells and concentration spells, because again, concentration is so fragile that if you're going to get dinged and you're going to lose it. It's just a matter of how soon are you going to lose it. So you're racing the clock on, can I take out these enemies before they take my mana away? And concentration lasts forever as long as you can maintain it. So we have attrition checks. You occasionally get shit tested, like with traps in a dungeon that force saving throws. That's one important piece of adventuring, because you want to have those shit tests so that your characters don't just stack up 8 mana and float around like they're never going to get hit. You have to constantly test them, because they can, like the full casters have so much mana in their mana pool that you want to ding them, so they have to waste actions to recharge the things that they just lost, and to make them think about how much am I actually going to throw into my character, because I know I'm going to lose it, how important it is for me to keep that. Maybe I don't want to overjuice myself, so I can keep that mana safe. So that's one of the interesting features about the Ranger, is that they can generate mana to cast spells. So can Eldritch Knights at 7th level, and so can Arcane Tricksters at 9th level. So the Arcane Trickster, the Ranger, and the Eldritch Knight are unique in the game system in that they can use their action economy to cast spells that they specifically gain from the Eldritch Knight subclass, the Arcane Trickster subclass, the Ranger class features. And it's always just instantaneous or concentration effects. So super fun stuff. And so we also revised Mark of Praise, so it doesn't require concentration. It's just something that you spend a bonus action on to be able to trigger. But when you do, you automatically get a free point of mana to spend on a strike to damage your opponent. So whenever you hit your Mark of Prey, you get a free point of mana to spend on hitting them if it's during your turn. So if I get 2 attacks this round, that's basically 2 free points of mana I get for having that guy targeted. But the thing is that the quicker I kill that target, the sooner I now have to use my bonus action to switch it over to another target to get that sweet free mana. So you're egging your Ranger to pop a bunch of mana to kill a target, but at the other side of that, it's the faster you kill them, the less, like, I can't do that anymore until I assign a new target, which requires a bonus action to do. So my chair's flickering in the background. I'm going to change how I sit in my seat. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. That's just a quick crash course to set things up, because what we're going to work on right now, and we spent a ton of times talking about this in previous episodes, so if you do a search in my stuff for anything that has the word Ranger in the title, you'll know you'll be in the right place. Be welcome to dive in. You can see here that all the subclasses gain a list of bonus powers. You get 2 at 3rd, 5th, 9th, 13th, 17th level, and we don't specifically require you to get a 1st rank power at 3rd or a 2nd rank power at 5th or whatever. First off, they only go up to 4th rank, so there's only 1, 2, 3, and 4. So your character can get basically the full range of stuff that you can do by 13th level, which is within the curve of where most WotC campaigns sit. Like the Ascent into Avernus, if you were to play a Paladin, you'll have access, other than the Paladin has 5th level spells at 17th level, but with the power system, you'll have everything that you want at 13th, 14th, and when the campaign finishes at 15th level, you get all that stuff and you get to play with it for a number of levels, so you actually feel like you're accomplishing stuff in the game, even though there's more stuff to do at higher levels. So since we don't have that requirement, like feats, for example, you can prepare feats instead of powers, right? You can also prepare types of damage. Like I can spend at 5th level, at 1st level, I can have like simple stuff like acid, fire, cold, lightning, thunder, and poison. And then at 5th level, I can pick up radiant, psychic, necrotic, force damage. And those count as prepared powers. So whenever I use those, I can just say, yeah, I'm going to deal force damage. So now as a DM, you can start fucking around with immunities, vulnerabilities, and resistances. You can set up, like a troll could be immune to fire. It could be resistant to acid. It could be vulnerable to, like maybe it'd be immune to poison as well. And say it'd be vulnerable to, like, say, let's make these trolls vulnerable to lightning. And so if your character is going through your damage types, you can figure out, I'm not doing much damage with fire. Let's switch it up and try something else instead. So then you switch over like force damage. Yeah, force damage works. Cool. Let's start cracking it with force damage. Most things in the monster manual, for example, it leans towards like resistant to force. Like nothing is immune to force damage, right? But you can prepare creatures specifically to be immune to force effects. Like you could decide, like incorporeal, like wild creatures incorporeal is it could be immune to force damage. That becomes a severe problem for you because force damage is one of the ways that you can normally target incorporeal creatures. But now, with that immunity, like the only way you could really damage it is psychic damage. So now you need to make sure that you've got somebody on your team somewhere that can deal psychic damage or have powers on your kit so you can switch gears and, well, we need to do psychic damage for a while. So you can switch gears up like that. And you can have vulnerabilities where you deal double damage. And we also have lethalities, where when you hit them, like say a steam method, if you hit a steam method with fire, it's lethal to that method because the steam dissipates, so it dies immediately. All you gotta do is ding it with fire damage and it dies. So now you've made minions from 4th edition, literally out of any character, any monster at any CR that you want. If you make them, if you give them a lethality against a damage type, and you can switch that up as you please. So a lot of diversity, a lot of the DM gets to use all the tools in this toolbox just as much as the players do. So like for example, in the last playtest, the team was fighting zombie brutes. The brute template from the 4th edition, right, was like super tanky, tough things. While zombies are hard to kill, if you drop them to 0 hit points, they get to make a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail to save, then they're actually dead. But one of the brute powers that they have is life stealing. So whenever they bite you, they get temporary hit points. So they would try to knock them down and they would get mauled by a zombie, and that zombie just stacked up a bunch of temporary hit points onto itself. So that added to its tankiness. So if you have a high rank of zombie attacking you, it could tack on 10, 15 temporary hit points per round of attack. So now you have to focus fire down on that zombie to get past its temporary hit point buff, to actually start damaging it, and then you also have to make the saving throw to actually keep it dead. Otherwise, it's just going to get up and bite you again and get more temporary hit points back. So you can have less zombies attacking larger groups of people, and they can stay a problem. A lot of fun little loops like that. So having said all of that, and actually getting into the meat of today, we are readdressing the Beastmaster to make sure we like how everything grooves on it. I'm going to grab this and peel it out so it's a separate layer so that I can go into here and open up the Beastmaster subclass. So if I need to refer to this because something feels weird, we can come back and look at it. We had addressed this about 2 months ago. We took a look at this and started building it, but it's been a little while, so I wanted to look at it again. First off, we're going to leave the power list alone. We'll come and look at it at the back end. I first want to focus on the actual features of the kit, and once we go through those features, then we can look at how the powers that you automatically get for free as a ranger complement what sort of things we should anticipate the Beastmaster to be able to do with your critter. So I guess without any further preamble, Beast Companion. So you magically summon a primal beast using one of the stat blocks, Beast of Land, Beast of Sea, or Beast of Sky, as detailed in the player's handbook. So right now we're just referencing the player's handbook because it's here. Here it is. We may pull this into the actual document when we publish it. We're trying to be conservative about how much we're copying and pasting the actual documents that Wizards have already published. But if we need to, we'll bring it in and we'll see how it sits on the page before we do. So you create a critter of your choice. You also determine the kind of animal it is, choosing a kind appropriate for the stat block. Whatever beast you choose, it bears primal markings indicating its supernatural origin. The beast, and if you're using color mana, let's say you're playing a black-green Golgari Beastmaster, and say you go with a creature of the land and you make it a scorpion. So you've got a scorpion, and it's going to maybe just be a black scorpion that has green runes carved into it. Or it's a green scorpion that has like black flares of magic that like drip up from it as it moves around. Or it looks like a perfectly normal scorpion, but its tail drips black and green ichor, like with poison, or like its eyes have an unnatural green glow to them. There's a lot of different ways you can express it if you're using, like, color mana is so awesome because it's literally color. So you can, like, visually describe, like, that sword is pulsing with green, with red power. Maybe it's a firebrand. Maybe it's a sort of destruction that disintegrates things. That's a force effect, and red is force. So ideas like that. A lot of narrative detail you can go in, and there's so much character personality in building your characters using the color mana system. It's great to have your gear and the magical effects that you have, like, literally reflecting what kind of a character you're playing. Like you're literally wearing your alignment on your sleeve. Like, my alignment is black and red, or like, say, black and green as a Golgari Ranger. You're literally dripping with green and black magic. Like, you can smell it and you can see it on them. Super cool. Like, why is he's using white magic, but it's being radiated as black energy? That means you've probably got either a very unique character, or they're very powerful, and that they've been able to accumulate all these magics or bend those magics out of other colors and make them become the colors that you want them to become more efficient with your own mana pool, for instance. So, yeah, Critter glows with whatever color it is that you like to use. The beast is friendly to you and your allies and obeys your commands. Advantages if you die. In combat, the beast acts during your turn. It can move and use its reactions on its own in tandem with you, but the only action it takes is the dodge action unless you use an action or a bonus action to command it to take an action listed in the stat block or some other action. You can also sacrifice one of your attacks when you take the attack action to command the beast to make an attack. If you have the incapacitated condition, the beast acts on its own and isn't limited to the dodge action, which is a lot of this stuff is just boilerplate language now for 2024. But we're right off the cuff giving you that action. You can just spend any number of your attacks to have your companion attack instead for you. So, in addition, you gain the following options with your animal companion. You can take damage for your companion using your own hit points while you can see your companion. That's coming out of the design that we have for the Spelljammer book that we have published. That's linked down below. Pilots of ships, they can take damage for the ship instead to make the ship stay. It basically becomes like a bioenergy shield that you surround your ship in, like the air bubble that protects your ship. That's like your willpower, making the ship go, and it attacks your own life force, or it damages the ship. Take your choice. It's easy for you to heal hit points on your character, a lot easier than repairing a ship. So in combat, it's often better to allow your pilot to tank damage, like putting a barbarian as your pilot. It doesn't require concentration. It's not spell casting. So you can have a barbarian at the helm, and you can just like power rage your way through combat on your ship. So we adopt that idea and bring it into our minions. That's also that's also an in command of armies, guilds, and kingdoms system, where when your character is commanding multiple creatures as a combat unit, the character is able to tank any amount of damage for your legion if you want to, which is another reason why in the depiction of warfare, the fighter character is so often resembled as like the leader of men or of troops, because in that sort of a game system, the leader is literally sacrificing their own health to keep their troops alive. And nothing inspires loyalty from people than someone who's willing to die for you and proves it every round of combat. That builds loyalty, which is a really fun mechanic to play with. The synchronicity, the serendipity of that mechanic jiving with the flavor works really well. So we lean into that in a lot of the game things that we build here. We being the royal me, being me and my playtesters. So cheers. If you're interested in playtesting, anyone, my Discord's linked down below. Jump in, say hey. So yeah, you can take damage for your companion to keep him alive. Companion natural attacks qualify as melee weapons of 1 copper piece or more in value to 1+. Because there's some spells or feats require you to have a weapon as a material component to use. This allows you to treat your animal as that type of a weapon, so you can cast spells through them. to qualify for spells and feats that are considered unarmed attacks for you to use with feats and other options that require these special attacks. Like, for example, if you have a wolf that has a bite attack, you could take the Piercer feat, and then your wolf can use the Piercer feat when you choose to have your animal companion, your wolf, attack with a bite. If you have a bear with slashing claw attacks, then you can take the Slasher feat, and now your bear can use the Slasher feat when it attacks, because you can sacrifice your attacks for your bear to attack instead. So, yeah, there you go. In addition, you gain the following, So that's the cool thing that you can do with the weapons. And then as a second rank maneuver, you can expend 2 mana to resummon. Actually, we shouldn't list it that way. It should just be, see, this is why we're doing that, because we've updated the language, and like that idea of it being a maneuver is now antiquated. So instead, we're going with, you can expend 2 mana to resummon your companion, or if it's killed in the past hour, you can instead bring it back to life with full hit points. Alternatively, you can perform a 10-minute ritual to resummon your companion. There. That's something that needed to be included. Shared power. So at level 3, like, these are the base mechanics of your beast companion, on top of the bonus powers that you get. So, and in addition to that, there's shared power. So as you gain levels, you can channel powers through your companion and its attacks. So at 3rd level, you gain the following features. Your companion benefits from your mark of prey, and you can channel strikes through your companion attacks. So if I mark that bugbear as my mark of prey, now my wolf companion treats that as also being marked. So whenever I hit with my wolf, it can automatically channel an extra point of power damage to increase the amount of damage that my wolf is dealing. So my wolf's bite is effectively the same as like a sword attack or a bow shot as far as damage. And as I ramp up my damage by spending mana, I could do that through the attacks that I'm expending for my wolf to attack instead. So it's just making that wolf a mobile weapon platform that I can move and attack things with. Very similar to how we worked the Spelljammer system, where your character can command fleets of like squadrons of fighter craft, and you can use your action economy to command them to move to different positions on the battlefield, and then unleash like ballista attacks and stuff like that as part of your action economy. It's very similar to that. So, and we've been using that for almost 2 years now. So it works incredibly well, and it's a lot of fun. Let's see, you can use temporary mana generated by empowered actions that we were talking about up above, movement and bonus actions, in addition to using your own mana pool as normal. So like whenever you're dealing stuff with your pet, you can use generated mana to act through your companion. The companion can benefit from any meta powers that you have prepared or feats that you have gained. Like, for example, we were talking about, like, at 5th level, picking up, like, say, necrotic damage. If I've prepared necrotic damage as just a base ability, that scorpion we were talking about for my Golgari Ranger, when it hits with its tail attack, it's not dealing piercing damage, it's now dealing necrotic damage when it hits you. Super cool. And again, flavored, black and green, very on point in flavor. Let's see, and you can sustain, you can target your companion separately with a sustained power, tapping mana separately for your companion. You can sustain the same power for yourself and your companion this way up to your maximum rank of power. For instance, a 5th level ranger can tap 2 mana to sustain a 1st rank power for both yourself and your companion. So yeah, you can basically divide up between yourself. Your companion basically becomes an extension of yourself in that sense. But like a 5th level ranger it has a cap of 2nd rank, or like 2 mana at a time. So you'd have to break that up between you and your companion. I could put 2 points. I should make a mention of that. Or tap 2 mana to sustain a 2nd rank power for either yourself or your companion. There you go. So that's already a shitload of value. You basically, like say using a beast of the air. They're fragile, right? Well, that's when you would use your own hit points with a D10 to bolster that flying companion, so you can afford to have that companion get into hover and fight and deal damage with stuff. You can juice the attacks. It's all that. It just literally becomes a mobile platform between yourself and your companion. When we rebuilt the Echo Knight, I think it was last month, we were leaning into those ideas for your Echo to become that mobile weapon platform that the Echo Knight would be able to utilize. This is very much like that. Exceptional training, level 7. Now your companion can now be commanded to use a bonus action to take the dash, disengage, or dodge action. In addition, you can now use a number of attacks during the attack action to command your companion to attack instead of making your own. Let me double check that real quick. In combat, acts on your turn. It can move and use its reactions or its own in tandem with you. But you can only take action to dodge unless you use the action or bonus action to command it to take an action listed in its stat blocks or some other action. You can also sacrifice one of your attacks per round when you take the attack action to command the beast to make an attack. And then at 7th, you can now use any number of attacks. You can use any number of attacks during the attack action to command your companion to attack instead of making your own. Imagine, hold on, LeFou, I'm afraid I've been thinking. It's a dangerous pastime, I know, but let's look at this. In combat, no, here it is. Companion natural attacks qualify as melee weapons and are considered unarmed attacks for use with feats and other feats, features, and other options that require these specific attacks. Like for example, you could have a second level monk, 5th level, second level monk, 7th level beast ranger, and you could use flurry of blows to give your beast companion 2 extra attacks. And then at an 11th level monk, 7th level ranger, you get 3 attacks with your flurry of attacks, flurry of blows. You could then confer those attacks into your beast companion. So you could have a really cool multi-class between monk and ranger. You'd have to be 18th level to pull it off, but you would consistently have 5 attacks per round between you and your animal companion. It's just a cool flavor. It's not necessarily any better than what you could do, but we allow these things to be transparent and overlapping with each other, so you can divide them up as you want. That's an example of like how ubiquitous we're trying to make martial characters multi-classing with each other, so that you are rewarded for finding cool flavor combinations like that. So now you can start thinking about like a clan of monks that train, like for instance, that train eagles. Like it'd be like the Eagle Claw clan, and their shtick is that they're all multi-classing into Beastmaster Rangers, so that they're using their mana pool combined with their monk and their ranger, and now they're using their eagle to be able to do all their cool stuff. Like as an example. I'll catch up on text and we'll keep. Hey, Francois, what if I have a Beastmaster Artificer? Can I give my Beast Cybernetic augmentations? Can I make my construction familiar more powerful? We're going to wait and see what the Artificer turns into with the Eberron book that's going to be coming out in October to be able to make a final decision on that. But the knee-jerk reaction would be yes, in that when you have multiple features that grant you multiple pets, instead of having multiple pets, you can instead combine all those pets into just your pet. And anything that any of your classes or multi-classes would allow you to do with a pet, you can do through that pet. Otherwise, you have to break up your action economy into, you can only do Artificer stuff with your Artificer Defender. You can only do Beast Companion stuff with your Beast Companion. But I could very easily see a red-blue Azet Artificer Beastmaster Ranger building a companion that, the Iron Defender as your companion and then dumping all of your ranger stuff into making that your favorite dog in the world. That's a great idea, and it's awesome flavor. And it doesn't break anything because you're binding all these different features, but you're putting because we don't know if they're going to do infuse. Like currently, the way that the system works is that I don't think the animal companion. I think you can put a plan on your doggo. There's no infusions anymore, so you can't infuse your dog with stuff like that. But otherwise, you would be able to do that. And even if if it was like a living dog that you picked up as a puppy, and like, this is my doggo, I love him, and he's a living creature, you could still bond cybernetic gear onto your favorite doggo to then ramp it up with artifice. But you could have the soul of a living animal inside of your beast, your metal companion, and I think that would still work just fine. So we're going to see what the final language is for Artificer 2024, but I want to make sure that when that comes out, that we make the language, because we're going to have we're going to do Spellpoint Artificer probably in November when that comes out. So that's when we're going to step in and make sure that the language that we use for the Artificer is going to jive with what we have going on here. So yeah, great question, and I love that. That is the intention, to be able to do that. We just have to see what the mechanics are. So we know what exceptional is. You can now use any number of attacks, plus the bonus action you can dash, dodge, disengage. As well as at 7th level, you now have an improved shared power. We should probably call that improved shared power. You can choose to channel any exploit or reaction that you have prepared through your companion. So initially, we can take any strike that you know, and your companion can make those strikes instead of you. At 7th level, you can do strikes, but now you can also use, again, any maneuvers, which are either actions, like the bonus, like we talk about up here, any bonus actions. Where did it say it specifically? In combat, your beast acts during your turn. It can move and use its reactions on its own tandem, in tandem with you, but the only action it can take is blah, blah, blah. Unless you use an action or bonus action to command it to take an action listed in its stat block or some other action. So the way that martial powers works in general is that all the maneuvers that you can perform in the game, and those are over here, any maneuver, where are you at? All right, I'm just gonna grab and drag, we'll get there. Any maneuver in the game can be used as a magic action or as a bonus action. And you can use the same maneuver twice in the same turn if you're willing to pay for it. Action, bonus action. Because we melt away, you're not limited on how often you can use powers. You can use them as often as you can pay for them. So, yeah, so once at 7th level, now your dog can use literally any maneuver that you have, and the dog becomes the point of origin. So, like, for example, your dog could shunt. Target a number of creatures equal to the amount of mana you expend that are within 10 feet and up to one size larger than you to make a strength saving throw or be pushed up to 10 feet per mana channeled directly away from you. You can roll a number of power dice equal to the mana expended, adding the highest roll to the saving throw DC. So your companion, you could drop your companion into a crowd of orcs and then pop, shunt, and they all get shoved away, potentially pushing them through one of your allies' attack of opportunity area and whack them on the way by, for example. So yeah, all these things are designed to work and fold into each other. And then reactions. Your dog gets a reaction at the same turn as you get. So technically, the Beast Companion gives you two reactions per turn. And you can now use powers to juice up those reactions. At 11th level, text. Level 11 is greater shared power. Thank you. So we have improved shared power, and now we have... Yeah, you're right. And we should probably call 15th level, what is it? There's not perfect, not enhanced, not improved, greater, ultimate shared power. Dog. That's what I should name my mechanical xenomorph. Nice. Nice. We'll look at it. There's juice in here. God, I love it. So yeah, exceptional training. We have that. Exceptional training, improved shared power. 11th, Gestalt teamwork. When taking the attack action, you gain a third attack that can only be used to command your companion to attack. So you already get 2 from 5th level, and now you can use, at 11th level, you get an extra attack, just like the fighter gets, but it's for your dog only. And then greater shared power is you can choose to channel any maneuver power that you know. Wait, we already have maneuvers. Strikes, reactions, maneuvers. You can channel any exploit powers, you know, through your companion. I like them getting, oh, no, wait, it was exploits down here. I'm sorry, you're right. It was exploits down here. That's not, that is right. Maneuvers. You know what? Yeah, I like this being, I'm bottlenecking. We have exploits and reactions, and we have maneuvers. That's really, yeah, maneuvers is really nice. But the action economy from bonus, let's look at the stat block to see if these things naturally come with bonus actions. That's going to be our deciding factor. Beast Strike. My attack roll. Beast of the Sky, Flyby, Primal Bond, attack roll. Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, maneuvers does feel right. Yeah, maneuvers. That was the proper answer, so I'm glad I have that. And exploits modify die rolls, and reactions are reactions. So at 7th level, gain the reaction. That's really nice. I need to reword this up here. Because it's combined. The language is mushing too much. We need to clarify the language. It can move and use its reactions on its own in tandem with you, but the only action it takes is the dodge action unless you use an action or a bonus action, or use an action or bonus action to command it to take any action. Take any action listed in its stat block. I think any is a useful word. Any action listed in its stat block or some other action. There we go. And then you can sacrifice an attack to command the beast to attack. The only action, let's see. Let's reword this. Yeah, the only action it can take is dodge action unless you use an action or bonus action to command it to take any action listed in its stat block or some other action. Okay, I think that's square enough. Well, I'm gonna hire an editor for this, and we're going to consult about what's the best way to bash that out. But the intention is like you could use your bonus action to have it attack, or you could use a bonus action for it to dodge. No, you can't, because you can't do that until higher levels. So it has to be on the stat block. Or some other action, right. Only it takes is dodge action unless you use an action. The only action it can take is the dodge. Unless you use an action or bonus action to command it to take any action listed in a stat block. It's that or some other action that's causing, or some other standard action isn't a real word, but like you could disengage is a command that you could issue. No, that's the way to fix it. Use a standard action or some other action. That's the problem. You can use an action to command it to take any other action listed in its stat block. Or some other you can also sacrifice your bonus action or one of your attacks per round, or one of your attacks when you take the attack action to command the beast to make an attack. That jives with the bonus attack that you get from multi-attack, so that jives because Nick is a thing, so you could utilize the bonus you could use an attack and then Nick for yourself, and then use your bonus action to have your beast companion attack. That jives. That was necessary. And then we can drop down into shared power. 7th level is, you can now be commanded to use a bonus action. There you go. To take the dash, disengage, or dodge action. You can now, no, that's the way we want to use it. You can now use your bonus action to command your companion to take the dash, disengage, or dodge action. I'll catch up with you in a second. So I want to make sure I get these thoughts down. In addition, you can now use any number of attacks during the attack action to command your companion to attack instead of making your own. Good. And then at 11th level, Gestalt Teamwork, when you take the attack action, you gain a third attack that can only be used to command your companion to attack, and you can choose to channel a maneuver. You can choose to use an action a bonus action to channel any maneuver powers you know through your companion. There it is. That's what I wanted to express. Now let me catch up with you guys. Okay, cool. You play. Oh, that's super freaking cool. I love it. In a solo game with my buddy. That's awesome. So the xenomorph makes perfect sense for your Lithid. That's so cool. 2 robots, 3 construct familiar feats. Oh, nice. I love it. Construct xenomorph, now named Dog. Cheers. And a flying mechanical crab, of course. The facehugger turp, of course. It hunts other familiars extracted. Oh, that's so fun. That's awesome. I love that. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So now we've got the action economy actually figured out. Because we're so liberal with how you can spin your action economy together with your animal companion, laying down exactly how you use your own action economy is actually... How am I so dark? That's actually necessary. So I'm really glad we locked that down. So continuing on. So we can now use a bonus action to channel any maneuver powers you know through your companion. You can now choose to use a magic action or bonus action to channel any maneuver powers you know through your companion. Perfect. And then 15th level twin companions. As a second rank sustained power, you can summon and command a second companion. So you get the first companion for free, and then at 15th level, you have a total of 4 mana that you can tap at the same time to sustain up to 4 ranks of power. Your second beast companion counts for 2 of them. So it costs you a little to have 2 of them, but it's well within your character's budget to do so. It's just a kicker cost effect, but it's fair. And we actually had that show up in the Echo Knight that we had built last month as well. Let's see. The power ends when you dismiss the pet or it reduces 0 hit points. You can use your attack when you take the attack action to order either companion to attack. Furthermore, When a companion hits a creature, you can use a bonus action to mark that target as your prey as part of the attack. Let's go look at Mark of Prey, because that comes in at 15th level. So let's go up and look at the Mark of Prey. Mark of Prey is cool. So Mark of Prey, it replaces Hunter Mark, it replaces favorite enemy and Relentless Hunter. So as a bonus action, you can mark a creature. Hold on, I gotta do a timestamp. Okay, we're doing okay. As a bonus action, you can mark a creature that you can see within 120 feet as your prey. This can be done during an attack with a weapon if the target is not currently your prey, applying any additional effect gained by the Mark of Prey to the creature you hit as a bonus action. Right. This can be done immediately. This can be done. I should word that as this can be done immediately after, because that's the wing that they use for bonus powers, bonus spell effects. Immediately after an attack with a weapon, if the target is not currently your prey, applying any additional effects gained by Mark of Prey to the creature you hit. The mark remains until until you mark a new target as your prey, the target is killed, or you are incapacitated. So the effect at level 1 is while the creature is marked, you gain advantage with intelligence, wisdom, stuff related to the prey. In addition, when you hit your prey with a weapon attack, you gain 1 point of temporary mana if you to channel to expend as part of a strike power. That's better wording. And then at level 5, you gain advantage anytime you hit your target. And at level 9, you increase your crit to 19 and 20. At level 13, your Mark of Prey persists while you're incapacitated, including when you take a long rest. And you can mark a target that you can see as your prey, regardless of distance. And then at 17th level, you can crit on 18, 19, or 20 against your target. And then we have the Foe Hunter, Foe Slayer, which is when you have a target marked, instead of using your power die increases to a D12 whenever you're doing your intelligence and your wisdom stuff. And when you deal strike damage, it's a D12 instead of whatever die you would be using. And your Mark of Prey can't be disrupted until you're dead. So your character, starting at right away at first level, whenever you make an attack, you can use your bonus action to target. So we don't gain that for our animal companion until, what is it, 15? You can use your attack when you take the attack action to order either companion to attack. Furthermore, when a companion hits a creature with... That should be down in Gestalt, because that feels Gestalty, right? Working together, working in tandem. That makes more sense. So let's add that down to give a little bit more juice to the 7th level. Yeah, there. 7th feels really nice now. Third attack, magic action, bonus action for maneuvers. And then ultimate shared power. How about seamless or natural or ultimate perfect? Perfected shared power? Maybe. We'll work on it. When you channel a sustained power or maintain concentration on a spell, your companions benefit from the effect as well without expending any extra mana. So we had to pay twice, myself and my companion. Oh, that's what's happening. I'm getting there. I was getting overexposure from sunlight that was coming through my window. There we go. Welcome back. So now at 15th level, when you gain a second companion, you also don't have to spend extra mana. So I could juice at 15th level, I could juice all 4 mana into myself, and my companions will get it as well, which can legitimately be a really terrifying combination. Hey, what's up? Aura Ranger? Yeah, I kind of like that. Hey, Francis. Sorry, you've already been here, Francois. How about gains bonuses or attacks if a part of? Nah, I don't want to add. I don't want to add arbitrary bonuses. This is shitloads of juice. I'm pretty happy with that. The sustained powers that you get are like personal aura effects on yourself. They're not like Magic the Gathering has aura cards, or like aura enchantments, where you put the enchantment and it affects the creature that the card is placed on. They're called auras. While in D&D, auras are considered like 10 or 30-foot emanations that surround you. It's kind of a misflavor. So they're not actually auras. They're personal enchantments that don't require concentration effects. They're very limited in that they can only affect yourself, or in this instance, yourself and your doggos. Since your doggos are extensions of yourself, that makes sense. But yeah, I'm much happier with this. But we'll be hiring an editor to help make sure all this language is really properly parsing out. So now that we've gone through, we know what these things can do. We can go through and look at the actual list of powers that are active. So, and then we'll have maybe a little bit of time to start looking at the Paladin, and then we'll bounce. So, starting at 3rd level, you get Martial Strike. Martial Strike is normally at 3rd level. Your character, oops, I'm going the wrong way. Reactions, strikes. So normally at 3rd level, you're using a D6 power die, and you don't get a D8 until 9th, and then you get a D10 at 17th, and then Foe Slayer gets the D12. Okay, so the way that a martial strike works is your weapon damage die increases by one. Your weapon damage die. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana channeled. The power die rolled is one size larger than your current die. Your current die is a D6, so it becomes now a D8, and then at 17th level it becomes a D12, and it stays a D12 with a Foe Hunter. So Martial Strike doesn't do anything other than increase the amount of damage that you can deal unto itself. But there's a kicker, which is in addition, you can use any one combat mastery that you have prepared, or that is a property of the weapon that you hit with. So weapon masteries, each weapon in D&D now has a property, which is a weapon mastery property. And the way that we've rebuilt them is that if you have the channeling class feature, if you are proficient with a weapon, you automatically can use the weapon mastery associated with that weapon for being proficient with it. Full casters don't get that. For example, the Blade Singer. If you gain proficiency, like say in long swords, but you'll have to spend a feat to get the Vex mastery that comes along with the long sword. So the Martial Strike, and normally a weapon mastery would be considered a cantrip, where a strike is considered a spell. Like when a wizard casts a spell, you can't also cast a cantrip at the same time unless you had a unique feature that said that you could. Martial Strike is that unique feature in that you're going to ramp your damage dealt with mana for the Martial Strike itself, and the special kicker effect that this power has is being able to use a mastery with it. Combat masteries are masteries that you prepare. So like say the longsword has Vex as its natural property weapon mastery. If I prepared Vex as a combat mastery, I could use Vex with any weapon I'm proficient with, whether it's a longsword or not. So that's how combat masteries work, and you have to prepare those just like you would prepare powers, but you get that one for free. Let's see, what's the other stuff that we get for free? The answer may surprise you. Savage Attacker. That's a feat. Savage Attacker. That's a feat. Gimme. Savage Attacker is a feat that you get for free. You don't get the stat gain, you just get the feat, which is you've trained to deal particularly damaging strike once per turn. When you hit a target with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target. So nice. You're automatically going to be dealing extra damage. Bait and switch is a first rank maneuver. Let's go look at it. Here we go, bait and switch. The trigger condition is a willing creature within 5 feet of you. And the result is you can spend 1 mana to switch places with the creature. Switching places this way doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, nor does it cause an attack to fail. In addition, roll 1 power die per mana spent this way until the start of your next turn. You or the target creature gain a bonus armor class equal to the highest power die result. So this is a reaction that you can use literally any time, including during your own turn. All it takes is to trigger it is a willing creature that is within 5 feet of you. Hold on. Doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, nor does it cause an attack to fail. In addition, roll 1 power die per mana spent this way. Until the start of your next turn, you or the target creature gain a bonus to armor class equal to the highest power die result. I need to, nope, I need to fix that. Trigger is a willing creature within 5 feet of you is, what we should do, yeah. A willing creature within 5 feet of you is targeted with an, no, I'm having issues. The problem that we face here is that what if I trigger this when the creature is being attacked? And then the creature is outside of reach. I think there's a I think there's a feat, isn't there, or a fighting style that does that? Hey, what's up? Bait and switch is cool. Yeah. No, I think it's if pet within 15 feet. Plus 1 attack. It should be a pet, not a party member, in my opinion. It's still initiative. Let's see. No, I don't want to give him a bonus. I really don't. You can just take dire impact. That gives you a bonus to attack equal to your rank of power. So that already exists. It's just I don't want to make it special to for the companion. It's overclocking what the companion can do. They already get so much, so I don't want to add on to it. Trigger is a willing creature is within 5 feet of you. You can spend 1 mana to switch places with the creature. Switching places this way doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, nor there it is. Yeah, nor does it cause an attack to fail. There it is. But it does juice the armor class. In addition, roll 1 power die. Okay, great. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. That's clean. Cool. Bait and switch. A-okay. I don't think veterinary training exists anymore. It was an exploit that improved your chances to it improved healing, but we need to revisit it. Because now it's called Breath of Life. When you make an ability check to stabilize a dying creature, you automatically succeed, and the target gains a number of hit points equal to the result of 1 power die rolled. Otherwise, it's going to cost you 2 mana to bring your companion back. So that's Breath of Life. And then coordinated attack is a first rank maneuver. And again, you can use these twice a round. 1 mana, it costs 1 mana each, but you can do it twice. So coordinated attack goes like this. You can empower 1 ally per mana expended this way that can see or hear you to use their reaction to make an attack, rolling 1 power die per mana expended this way, adding the highest result to the attack against a creature that you and your ally can see. So I spend 1 mana, I can roll 1 power die. For me, it's going to be a D6 at 3rd level. No, it's 5th level, still a D6. So I choose a target, I choose you, and then we choose that target. If you choose to use your reaction to attack that target, you can add a D6 to your attack roll. There you go. And I can do that for, if I spent 2 mana at 5th level, I could have 2 allies attack that target. I'm going to roll 2 6-sided dice, and whichever result is best, that's how much you're going to add, each of you, to the attack roll against that target. So it's a great use of mana. And then there's Rally. And Rally is a juicer. You and 1 ally you can see gains a number of temporary hit points equal to the total of 1 power die rolled for each point of mana expended this way. So at 5th level, I could have up to 2 mana. I would roll 2 6-sided dice, and that's how many temporary hit points I get. What's up? It should be your pet, not a willing creature like a party member or NPC. I don't know what that's referencing. But if you're talking about bait and switch, it's a power that works on anybody. It's just, you would probably use it on your companion given the opportunity. But again, it's a maneuver. So at 11th level, you could have your animal companion next to the wizard, and you could use bait and switch through your companion to have your companion switch spots with the wizard and give your wizard an armor class bonus in the process, potentially causing the target to miss. Yeah. So I want that to be able to be used with anybody, because all of these things can be used through your pet. Your pet could run over and use Breath of Life to restore the life of your fallen companion without you having to change position, for example. They're just, think about it this way. If I gave the Beastmaster Zephyr Strike as a bonus spell, I would be able to use Zephyr Strike. I would be able to use it with my Beast Companion, but not just my Beast Companion. I could also use it. If I gained Cure Wounds as a bonus spell, as a Beastmaster, I wouldn't be able to just use Cure Wounds on my Beast Companion. I'd be able to use Cure Wounds anywhere, because that's how Cure Wounds works. I don't want to limit it that way, because every single subclass gets a stack of powers. If you decide to use this stuff and that's how you want to limit yourself, you're welcome to, but that is not the design that I want. That is not the intent. Allied Assault, Maneuver, 2nd rank. Allied Assault, you and allies gain advantage while attacking a chosen creature that you can see until the beginning of your next turn. You and all allies gain an advantage while attacking a chosen creature that you can see until the beginning of your next turn. There you go. And then bonus attack is a maneuver, 1. Bonus attack, make a weapon attack. Kicker, if you add an extra mana on top of it, you can attack with advantage. Yeah. So bait and switch appears in other classes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure the I think the Battlemaster gets it for free as well, and I think my current version of the Purple Knight gets it as well. I think the Mastermind Rogue also gets it. Yeah, these are just the universal list. Anyone can prepare these. You just get them for free. So because you're a Beastmaster, this is just your bonus list that you get on top of everything else that you can do. Frenzied Attack, 4th rank sustained power, big kick. Again, you can at 17th level, you've already gotten twin companions. So when you could learn it on your own as early as 13th level if you wanted to, and then your Beast companions at 15th could get it. But it becomes something you get for free at 17th level, and it goes like this. As soon as I get down to it, Frenzied Attacks. While sustaining this power, you gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action, and you gain advantage on all attack rolls. This extra attack can be used to generate temporary mana. So a 20th level fighter that's using Frenzied Attacks has 5 attacks per round. I could give up 4 of those attacks for 1 attack to get 4 free points of mana on top of it. Like, Frenzied Attack's great, but it's expensive as hell, because it's 4 mana and it ties up 4 out of your potential 5 slots of sustaining powers. And then the final thing is Moving Target. Moving Target, reaction, 2nd rank, costs 2 mana to use, equals... As a reaction to when a creature you can see moves into or within the reach of your weapon, you can make an opportunity attack even if the target is using the disengage action, rolling 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest result to the attack roll. If the attack misses, restore the mana to your pool, but it ate your reaction. So it's going to cost you your reaction for the turn. And if anybody moves inside of the reach of your weapon, not even outside of it, like a natural OA would be for like not taking the disengage action, but they're moving inside of your space, you can burn your reaction to take a swipe at them. And however much mana you're willing to throw at them is the chances of you hitting. If you hit, you burn all your mana. If you miss, you get that mana back. Pretty nice. And that's the stack of stuff. That is the stack of stuff that you get as a Beastmaster. And I am just about out of time. Hold on real quick. Yeah. Sorry, it's all still very rough language, and I punch through stuff quickly. So they're great questions, and you raise up good issues. But yeah. So I'm glad it makes sense. Thank you. And that technically finishes the stuff that we're doing with the Ranger for now. We have a whole bunch. We have all of the Forsaken 2014 classes as well, but I'm not going to put those in the core book. The core book is only going to be the actual 4 subclasses that appear in the player's handbook. But then I'll do like Forsaken classes of martial power or whatever. Because like we're seeing like the Skag 24 is going to have like the Purple Knight, and it might have others as well. We're not necessarily sure. So as new books come out, we can officially create the language for those things to exist. And so yeah, I don't need to overbook the book. Scope sprawl is an issue. I want to have them built for us to mess around with to make sure that they work. But that's a great excuse for me to make a splat book. Here, have an expansion, and then I can bundle it with the book and make them both half cost, and I get like an extra $1 or $2 as a result of it. But you get more value per dollar. So that's how like the Drakewood and like the purple Knight is most likely going to replace the Drake Warden altogether. So I'm going to wait and see what they end up doing with Purple Knight before we lock down either the Drake Warden or the Purple Knight. But we've already prepared, and it basically here's the reason why I think they gave it to the fighter, because Drake Warden is basically the same thing as the Beastmaster, and if you have a Beast of Flying, you could just say it's a dragon, but it doesn't have any kind of breath weapon. But with this stuff, you can have your flying companion act like a dragon by choosing the powers that you want to be able to cause, AoE and stuff like that. Fun stuff. And that is time. Let me see. So we finished the Ranger. That's good. I want to go back. We're going to go backwards. There. To the Paladin, because the Paladin is actually pretty simple. Let's see if I can get through it quickly. So the Paladin, it has the same scaffold, short rest mana, 1 per level, has the same prep powers, it has the power dice just like everyone else does. Again, if a feature is not on the list, but it's in the player's handbook, we've removed it. And if I list it here, if it's listed here and it's new or changed, we discuss it down here. If it's listed like ASI, we didn't change anything about ASI. So the ASI stays the same. So I don't need to mention that. It's unchanged. Paladin Smite is listed here. And we have it as a feature down here as well. So that becomes something that we pay attention to. So just going through the features really quickly. Again, you can mix any number of spells and powers. So you get a total of 23 powers by 23rd level. That could be either powers or spells. Take your pick. Same as the Ranger. Let's see. Lay on Hands. So we modify the Lay on Hands. You can channel divine power that rejuvenates yourself and your allies. You gain a pool of hit points that are equal to 5 times your Paladin's level, which is recovered on a long rest. As a bonus action, you can touch a creature, including yourself, and spend any number of points that remain in this pool to restore that many hit points. That's pretty normal. However, Purge Poison. This is also fairly normal. You can spend 5 points in the pool to remove the poison condition. Doing so does not also restore hit points. And then we also have Restore Mana, which is you can expend hit points to restore mana. For every 5 hit points expended this way, the target recovers 1 point of mana. Doing so does not also restore hit points. So since all characters can strike now, it eats away a lot of the identity of what makes Paladin special. There's 4 things that make the Paladin unique from other martial classes. The Paladin spell list, the aura, protection aura, and the other types of auras that they get as they evolve. The lay on hands and the smite. Since everybody can effectively smite right now, that's not very special. Spell casting, it is what it is, but it's actually not very special. So the 2 things that actually make this thing special, even in the power system, is lay on hands and the aura. And so the lay on hands that we juice up even further is you can now, since all this stuff is not very special compared to other things, you can heal people's mana pools. So, and you can do that for yourself. So you can basically, like at 20th level, you get an extra 20 mana on top of the 20 mana that you get on a short rest. You can do a shitload of mana stuff. Or you can hand that mana off to like your wizard or your cleric or your sorcerer or your barbarian if you want to instead. Oh yeah, special mount. Good point. Let's see. Starting at 2nd level, when you hit with a melee weapon attack and choose to channel a strike power, you can use an empowered bonus action to expend the temporary mana gained to add additional power dice of damage to the strike power, ignoring your max channel limit when you do so. So if we go back to the beginning of our conversation today, and we're looking at action economy, you get this at 2nd level. So at 1st level, you can sacrifice your bonus action to gain 1 temporary hit point, 1 temporary point of mana. And the Paladin at 2nd level can only channel 1 rank of power, which also means you can only spend 1 point of mana at a time. However, what this specifically says is that if I use my empowered action to sacrifice my bonus action when I make an attack with a smite power, I can add that point of mana to the point of mana that I spend to trigger my strike, so I can use 2 mana at 1st level instead of 1. So I can do 2 dice of damage instead of 1 die. It's typically going to be a D6, unless I take the Martial Strike power, which is a D8. And if I do take Martial Strike, my character is now dealing 2d8 damage at the cost of 1 spell slot and my bonus action, which is literally how Paladin Smite works now in 2024. We just get there a different way, and you're rewarded for, if you're looking at 2014 and now you're looking at 2024, you are being penalized for playing a Paladin, because now in the player's handbook, you can only smite once per turn because you only get 1 bonus action, and still eating your spell slot to do it. This way, you can smite anytime you hit somebody. Reactions doesn't matter. You can always smite, unless of course you're using a weapon mastery, and then you're doing that instead of spending mana. But otherwise, you can smite anytime that you want, and it's 1 power die of damage per point of mana spent. But the Paladin can use their bonus action gained to add that to the amount of mana that they spend. And keep, like at 17th level, it's 3 extra mana. So you could spend 5 mana out of your own pool, and then you could burn your bonus action to also add another 2 points of mana on top of that. So now you are, for 5 points of mana, doing 8 dice worth of damage. And if we look at the player's handbook, they took away the limit to what spell level you can use on a smite spell. So if you took 2 levels of Paladin and 18 levels of Sorcerer, you could use a 9th level spell slot from your Sorcerer to deal 9 dice worth of smite damage as a Paladin when you take your bonus action. Obviously, you can only do it once because you only have 1 9th level spell slot, but you could. Using this system, all you have to do is spend 5 mana out of your pool, and you can deal 8 dice worth of damage when you do it. And it would be, at 17th level, it would be a D12. So it would be 8d12 damage as opposed to 9d10. So 8d12, that would be 96 maximum damage, as opposed to the Paladin using a 9th level spell slot would be up to, it would be, you get the automatic bonus die at 11th, So it'd be 10 dice. It'd be 10d10, so it'd be 100 damage. So it would either be 96 from us or 100 damage from the player's handbook. So it's just about the same. This does not outpace the type of damage you could do in the player's handbook. But this allows you to do it more reliably, which was one of the base tenets that we were discussing at the beginning of the book, to be able to juice your stuff more often, to be able to maintain tempo with what the full casters can do. Not necessarily outpower them, but be able to keep up with them with the type of stuff that you can put out on a round-by-round basis. So that's where that sits. Going back down into the stuff that we're modifying. Lay on hands, the Paladin Smite. Yeah, the damage can be radiant instead of the type that's listed in the strike's description. So normally it's going to be like slashing damage or piercing damage or whatever. Normally you can't get access to radiant damage unless you're 5th level and you spend a prepared power, but the Paladin gets it for free. So 2 mana, radiant at 5th level, 2 mana at 5th level. Again, this is allowing you to act as though you're 5th level sooner than you are, which is awesome. And then when you use Paladin's Strike to damage a fiend or undead, you deal that extra die of damage like they do in the player's handbook. So, cheers. Channel Divinity. You can channel divine power, divine energy to cause additional magical effects. All paladins share with all paladins start with divine sense, which is described in the player's handbook. Other paladin features, which is you can pick up on if there's celestial, undead, or fiends in the region. And I think you can maintain it for like 10 minutes, something like that. Each time you use Channel Divinity, choose which effect to create. You can also you can use this feature twice. When you regain one of its expended uses when you finish a short rest, and you can regain one use by expending 2 points of mana. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. You gain an additional use when you reach Paladin level 11. If you channel Divinity effect requires a saving throw, the DC equals your channeling DC. So there's your juice. It costs you 2 mana to regain it, and so when you have a mana pool of 40 mana at 20th level, you could spend your entire mana pool you could like take a whole bunch of feats, stack out your character and not use mana at all if you don't want to. You'll automatically gain, that's actually something we need to visit. We do need to visit these oaths. Yeah, we're going to have to come back and spend time on the subclasses next time. So let me just finish going through the Aura of Protection, and then we'll drop down to the Oaths of Power, and we're going to come back and we're going to look at Paladin subclasses when we come back next time, which will be Friday. So level 6 variant, Aura of Protection, starting at 6th level. Whenever you or a friendly creature within 10 feet of you must make a saving throw, the creature gains a bonus to the saving throw equal to your max rank gained as a Paladin. You must be conscious to grant this bonus, and at 18th level, it becomes 30 feet. The way that it's written currently is whatever your charisma bonus is, everyone automatically gets that within 10 feet of you at 6th level. That is, in my opinion, too strong. It is outclocking. Like that bonus is significant. Your characters don't fail saving throws very often when you have an 18, 20 charisma paladin or a protection on you. So again, these are variant features, so you can ignore it if you want to. But if you use the mentality that we've been using throughout this book, then the max rank you gain as a paladin, so at 6th level, it's a +2. By 17th level, it's a +5, which equals the charisma bonus that you would have of 20 charisma at 17th level. So you would then be encouraged to stay in the paladin class all 20 level, or all at least 17 levels, so you can get up to that +5 bonus. As it's written currently in the player's handbook, you could bail after 6th level, and you're still going to give them that +5 bonus right away, and it becomes less and less effective as you gain levels, but it's still always really good. The way that this works is that it's good, but it's not so good that it doesn't outpace the difficulty of the monsters that you're facing up through 4th tier adventuring. So there you go. We're going to hold off for now on the Oaths of Power. We're going to come back and look at them next time. So that's it for today. I got to bounce. Got to finish my day. I'll be back tomorrow morning to continue artwork. And then I don't have lunch tomorrow, but I have a session in the evening, Thursday night. And I don't know what we're going to work on yet. We'll figure it out when we get there. But I'm gone for the rest of the day, so like, subscribe, blah-de-blah. Check out all my books down below. They all have free previews. If you like them, buy them. God bless you. Join my Discord server if you want to sharpen your knives with me, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Yeah, thanks a lot. Cheerio.